Thank you for allowing me to come down here and witness something so powerful and so needed. And I just want to just give another round of applause for the courage of what these people have done up here. And I can tell you, as a young boy from Texas, those things that you were seeing, and I heard you guys gasping, and those things are commonplace where I come from. Being reared in the South, some of those visuals and some of the things that have been passed down from my parents is the reason that I know that I have to walk a certain way, I have to be a certain way, and anytime I have a chance to shine my light, I have to do it. And so we want to thank you guys for shining your light and shining your light on this, because what needs to happen now is that this is a great, great, great film, but now we need to activate it. You got to get the people out there who have given up. You got a lot of people out there who have given up, who said, I don't even want to hear any more of that anymore. So what we got to do is continue to let people sound the alarm, and people like your story of what you've done and what you've given in your life to be done that way. We need to make sure that everybody is hearing about this, and then we got to activate, because it's one thing to hear it here, but the minute we walk out there, those people that you do see on that screen, they mean business. They don't want to give it up. And we got to have that same energy. We got to match that energy. And sometimes I feel like we fall back, and we got to go forward, because we have to make sure we make good on you and make good on what you did, because you were courageous. And we'll start this panel, and we'll be able to get to, find out the intricacies and how brave you are going down there, man. You down there. That's what that kind of land you was in. So I want to hear that. And Denise, you're going to take us through it. And she's going to take us through it. And thank you. And guys, like I said, activate it. Don't be afraid. Activate.
People are worried, ask me if I'm ever scared. Afterwards, yeah. No, really, we've had some, I have to say, these things are set up a lot. I have a team that's fearless. In fact, probably the biggest danger, going to Trump rallies, we ended up with COVID, the whole team. But yeah, we have our great undercover man, Zach D. Roberts, famous. He took those famous and horrific photos of Charlottesville. And he is our, you don't see him because he's our undercover man within these right-wing groups. And he's been beaten many times. So I don't want to say that I've been in danger. He's been beaten by the right-wing nutcases, and some of them wear police uniforms. So in this case, what we do is we do something that is not, when I say we, I'm from, my training is BBC Television, The Guardian. We do something very different. When we go and confront the bad guys with the evidence and get their reaction. If they refuse to meet with us, we confront them anyway. And we were having dinner. I teamed with the New York Times, a very good New York Times bureau chief, great guy, and he said, that was fantastic reporting, and if I did that at the Times, I'd be fired. It's a very different type of journalism. It is where and by the way, it takes a long time. This is about 2 years of investigation. We did 9 years investigating Georgia, but just for this is quite a bit of investigation, deep investigation, which takes endless time. Like you heard, 900 phone calls just here for this one story. This is the work we do. We file lawsuits, so we had a federal court order to open their files. These things generally aren't done in American journalism, and I would like to see more frontline work like that. But in the meantime, here I am. That's what you got. And a fabulous team, and what an extraordinary group. Thank you.
Well, let me add a little bit to that. I was amazed. If you notice in the film, there was a moment in the dining room where he said, "You're going to meet this guy, Alton, tomorrow." Like, in my home? If you notice in the film, he was sitting there. That was in front of my fireplace. That was my grandmother's Bible and her pistol, and all those pictures up there, my own version of my dear. But the truth of the matter is, how was he there? And he showed up. Now, I will tell you, he did an excellent job. I didn't know what was going to happen. It was a real gun, live bullets. We also had our little incident. It got a little touchy-feely right there, but I felt safe. I felt safe because I had my grandmother's pistol right there. Probably hadn't been fired in 55 years, but yeah, we had an opportunity. But thank you. He's good.
My whole thing is everything that I've been able to do in my career, you have to pay it back. And a lot of times when we go out on these marches, whether we go to Rodney King or Trayvon Martin or George Floyd or whatever it is, it's not to take over. It's to just give them up, like you have backup. You have people that are actually concerned about where the world is going. And you know, like Hollywood can be very frivolous. I'll be very honest with you. It's been a lot of times when you call people and you see these people that are tweeting and putting on the IG, but they don't actually have the boots on the ground. They don't actually come, you know. And so, like, it's just to sort of say, hey, man, I'm here. If you need me for absolutely anything, it's not frivolous. Being from Texas and having my grandmother raise me and she picked cotton herself. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not too far removed. I know he asked me how old I was. I said, I'm about to be 55. So I've had these experiences of what you guys are showing, and I know it seems shocking to you, you know, but it's real. You're under siege right now, and what they count on in California is that y'all gonna go out in the sunshine and you're gluten free and all these other things, and they don't think you're gonna fight. I'm being honest with you. They feel like you soft, and you got to match that. They don't care about you. You guys are sitting here, you know, worried about, you know, whether they're gonna keep you from voting. Of course they'll do that. You see what they did? They hung you. Think about a human being that'll hang a person. That's what he's showing you. They don't give a shit about stealing an election. The desensitizing of the black man from slavery was hanging you in broad daylight while they sat and ate food. And you know why? So you become desensitized to this man's rights. You become desensitized to it, to where you may not be a racist, but you're a perceptionist. The perception of what I see, I accept. So that's why I come to say, hey, listen, anything you need from me, because you have to get this man's courage out there, you have to get this man's story out there, and you got to activate. That's it.
So, of course, everyone has to play a role, and I think central in that role are folks like Major Turner and folks on the ground getting folks registered. So I just want to uplift that. Those are the most important folks. Those are the most impacted folks, and they're the ones that are making sure they're getting registered and voting. On the legal front, there are always efforts to support folks in Georgia. As soon as SB 202 was passed last May in 2021, the ACLU of Georgia, together with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, filed a challenge to SB 202, and that challenge is ongoing. But even now, while that challenge is ongoing, folks like Brennan Center and ACLU of Georgia are reacting to these systemic challenges by sending letters directly to counties that have received these challenges, challenging hundreds or thousands of votes, reminding them that there are existing federal laws that prohibit systemic purging of the rolls 90 days within an election, and they've been successful in pushing back against that. So reminding them of existing legal obligations to prevent exactly what happened to Major Turner. So there's lots of efforts, there's lots of ways to get involved. As Jamie Foxx mentioned, there's still work to be done here in California as well. So if folks want to get involved, you know, even though California has tons of great reforms in the past few years to try to improve voter turnout and voter registration, there's still a very felt voter registration gap and voter turnout gap based on racial lines and based on age. So if folks want to get involved, we do have some pamphlets here, but if folks want to go to aclusocal.org/vote, You could learn how to make a voting plan, and you could learn how to sign up to volunteer with us. Or if you want to volunteer in a different state like Georgia, we can make that connection with you all so that you can support efforts here and support efforts in Georgia and in other states like Texas and other states like Florida or Arizona, where we've seen some recent voter intimidation efforts as well.
Clearly, I am not Latasha Brown, and I can't sing as well as she can either. But she sent some words in a message for you all tonight. She said, "Black Voters Matter has been working with Greg Palast as we seek to make sure every eligible voter can cast their ballot and have it counted. We have filed lawsuits together, walked into the Secretary of State's office together to seek answers about illegal voter purges, and worked to lift up the stories of Georgians fighting to protect their voting rights every day. Greg's investigative journalism has helped to uncover the egregious voter suppression tactics used by Brian Kemp and his cronies. Vigilante does an excellent job at showing the connection. And I think this is particularly important. It doesn't show just what's happening now. It shows the connection to history, and she said, the long history of anti-Black racism, disenfranchisement, and slavery in Georgia. I'm honored to have participated in this project that will help millions better understand how and why voter suppression is happening in Georgia and across the nation." I agree with Latasha. And I wanted to add a little something here. This showing of Vigilante and the national screening on November the 2nd are free. There have been no charges. However, making sure that true facts are available to people is expensive. And after seeing the movie, we have a family foundation, and we met as a family and decided to contribute $5,000. Latasha made me say that.
Thank you, Latasha, and thank you.
To the Palace Investigative Fund. And we urge you all to contribute what you can. It doesn't have to be a lot. If you can give a little, give a little. I know there are some people in this audience who can give more, and if you can, I would encourage them to match our contribution. There's a link to donate at the website, palastinvestigativefund.org, and I'm sure you can get information from people here. Finally, while elections are not the end-all and be-all, they are an important tool in our social justice toolbox. Please vote.
I'm still tracking down my wife's status. The film is very powerful. If you decompose this whole film, you will find out what's really going on. You see it each and every day. We have the red states. Greg just showed you the history and why those states are red. If you're really paying attention, we flipped from Democrat to Republican down south. Why? Because of the central issue of suppressing people. I appreciate you saying that your mother and your grandmother told you stories. I have, my granddaughter is here. Why? Because I am afraid. I am seriously afraid.
Stand up.
Stand up. Now here's why. It's simple. This has been an ongoing fight. I play with and I challenge my children and some of the other people I've met that were born after 1970. Said, okay, let's talk. Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, Andrew Young, Joseph Lowry, C.T. Vivian, Benjamin E. Mays. You might know some of those. Yeah, everybody knows them. But guess what you haven't done today? Guess what is not happening? We are not lifting our leaders up. They are fighting for us. Why should they have to fight for us when the Constitution has already given us this right? We're having a conversation, he's making a movie, he's trying to inform us of something that's already in the Constitution. It starts off, all men are created equal. We are all humans. But somebody has decided that somebody else is less human than the other person. And we're going to take this time to take from them. This is a fight. This is a collective fight. It's not just for people of color. It is for our nation. We're in a 55-year rotation. The people that work with me always hear me say this. We're in a 55-year rotation. If we don't get this United States, American, one nation under God together before 2035, we are going to evolve as humans. We're going to evolve as a nation, and everything that we're used to is going to go away. We have got to get this together. We've already flying airplanes, flying cars. The computers are going to go, everything is going to change. But one thing that does really need to change is we need to push very hard to make sure that everybody recognizes there's value in your vote. And when you tell people that you're going to vote and you exercise your right to vote, you have power in it. Those guys couldn't do any of that. Couldn't do any of that if the collective numbers went out and vote. And one last thing. Say, my vote doesn't count. I'm not going to vote because my vote doesn't count. We are only here. We're only here because I was taught that my one vote counts. And when they tried to steal it, my grandmother, my mother, my father, and everybody that grew up around me said, don't let it happen. People have already died for us to be able to have this right. They died for us to have this right. And guess what, guys? I'm going to bring it to you real. It wasn't just Martin. It wasn't just the black civil rights leaders. They killed presidents. Their brothers. There was a whole era of assassinations during that time frame for one reason and one reason only. We had presidents quit because they didn't want to deal with the black-white situation in America. People ask, why are you so passionate? Why do you cry? It's hard for me to relive black and white America. And I do mean black and white America. I grew up when we didn't have color. Everything that we saw was black and white. And when I look at TV now, if we hit 1964, it reminds me of all the ugliness of this beautiful nation that we have. To see everybody being progressive in nature, this young man doing his thing, the group of people that are doing their thing, that's because we stood up. We pushed hard. We were united to make sure that our next generation was better. But if we don't start voting people, if we don't start taking this right to vote serious, other people will decide for us. And that's where our problem is right now. Other people are deciding for us. Don't believe me? All these white hair up here, Roe versus Wade, they decided for you. Our ex-president trying to put somebody on the Supreme Court, they said no, they decided for us. That's the impact that we have. We've got to vote. Thank you.
Because they don't want to honor this type of Jim Crow ugliness. And I have to respect Stacey Abrams for telling her people, we're not doing this. You know, obviously they could just say, well, here's 500,000 Republicans, knock them off the voter roll. They won't do it, and I appreciate the fact that she's taken that position. Now, just so you know, this is spreading to other states. The film, by the way, is being shown now in Houston by the election supervisor of Houston, Harris County, and was shown to the staff in Chicago, Cook County. Election supervisors are showing this film all over the country among themselves to to prepare their teams. We will be, this story isn't over. We have, and as you heard from Helen Butler, Mrs. Vote in Georgia, this is, and all the groups said this to me when we had our first Atlanta showing. This is about 2024. Yeah, it's about November, but it's about 2024 and their plans to overturn the election. I'm not going to tell you who should be president, who to vote for, but I think that the voters ought to make the decision about who the president is. And you could hear this whole SB 202 is as much about 2024 and being ready to decertify the election, something that they couldn't do in 2020. We're going to bust this story, but we have to start with November 2, getting it out, vigilantemovie.com and out there. And by the way, Palast Investigative Fund, if you do want to help us out, we won't say no. But the important thing is we've got to get this out.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm going to say this again. You got to toughen up. You got to toughen up. Here's what I tell everybody. We got a lot of excuses on our side. The excuses that we can come up with, stack them tall. What we're doing now, the people that we have, and this is my thing. I say, listen, don't think about the candidate. Think about what you want the world to look like. You say Roe versus Wade. I got 2 daughters. I'm with my daughters. Period. We shy. We scared. We're scared. We're scared, and we continue to make us scared. So hopefully this will show you some courage. Go in there and vote. Don't talk. You know, we all make the whole world's fucked up. It's messed up. Yeah, because you didn't get up. You didn't vote. And then for the youth, what's happened is my father, black educator, he was the last class of segregation. That's significant because in his class, doctors, lawyers, everything, because the education meant something to him. So he taught me, my sister, and our whole family, black history. When you don't know the history and you read something online, you float away from it. You don't even know that it's significant. When I took my kid to the plantation in New Orleans, and you know, I'm swing low, sweet, you know, I'm crying, and I look over at some of my friends, plantation life. You can't laugh at them. It ain't their fault. They don't know what it is. Why do you think they fighting so hard to not tell the history? Because if you knew the history like you saw up there, you would never think about not voting against that.
Major Turner, I'm Dawn Zalay Abernathy. I'm Ralph Abernathy's daughter. I want to thank you all so much for what you're doing. It means so much. Listen, a long time ago, my dad and Uncle Martin decided they were going to change America. They saw what they wanted America to be. It can be that way, but you can't sit on your behind and do nothing. They called our house in the morning and they called every evening and they promised to kill us. They bombed my parents' house when my mother was pregnant with me. But they called every single day. We integrated the elementary schools, and then I marched on that front line for us to have the rights to vote. But our generation has failed because my dad did what they were supposed to do, and Reverend Harold Turner, he did what he was supposed to do. And I'm just asking you all to continue. I can't stay because I got to get on a plane tomorrow morning where I'm going to meet Bernice King, and we're going down to Memphis where we're trying to get people involved and teach young people. So listen, fight the good fight.
Yes, ma'am.
Our future depends upon it, and I'm not going back.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not, and you all better not too.
Yes.